So go ahead and open up amylee.jpg, and I'm going to zoom in here quite a bit because we're going to take a look at some of these little areas of blemishes she might have here on her nose and different areas like that. And let's take a look at some of the retouching tools that are built into Photoshop that are going to help us to get rid of certain areas like this. The first of which is a fairly easy tool to use, and that's the spot healing brush right here. This tool requires really no skill whatsoever. All you have to do is have the ability to point and click with a mouse, and you'll instantly be able to use this tool. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer because we don't want to be destructive to our original layer here. So I'm just going to create a new layer, and I'm also going to come up here to the options bar and make sure that I have sample all layers turned on. And when I do that, I'm going to be able to sample the composite data of the layer beneath that new blank layer I created, thus putting my edits on its own layer and being non-destructive to the original image. So what I can do now is I can come in here and I can find these little blemish areas. I can just click once and let go, and they automatically are removed from the photograph. So like for instance over here, I can just click like that, and I'm instantly removing all these little spots. But I can show you here, if I wanted to, I could simply just turn these on and off simply by clicking the little eyeball over here in the layers panel next to this new layer I created. So I'm going to go through here and just remove some of these areas. And by the way, this works just like a brush. If you need to increase the area of the brush, just tap your right bracket key on your keyboard. If you need to decrease the size of the brush, tap the left bracket key on the keyboard, and then just point, click, and you should be able to remove any of the little blemishes that you might have on any photograph that you have. Now, I will say this, don't try to reconstruct very large areas with this tool, simply because if it runs into edges or areas where there's a significant difference between light and dark or something like that, you're going to get some really bad results. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to increase the size of the brush quite a bit here and then just click right in here. See what that did right there? That created a very bad result. And that's simply because this tool works a whole lot better if it's working only on a basis of small areas. When it uses those broader areas, it's actually taking a sample reading all the way around the outer radius of that brush and then determining what type of pixel values it's going to fill that area with based on what it reads around it. So for instance, right here, it's reading the side of that cheek over there and also this darker area on the top of her lip. So therefore, I got that little split tone type image right there, and that's really not the goal that I want here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo that, and I'm just going to shrink the size of the brush now back down here. You want to make sure that when using the spot healing brush that your brush is only slightly larger than the spot that you're trying to remove. So I'm just going to keep this right on top of all these little areas here, slight areas all throughout her face and on her nose, just like that. And when I'm finished here, I'll go ahead and show you. Let me back out just a little bit. I'm going to use Command minus or Control minus on my keyboard to zoom out. I would hit Command plus or Control plus to zoom back in. And so here is before and after. So you can see all these little areas that we've cloned out using this spot healing brush. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this layer away. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer here so that we can take a look at some of the other retouching tools. Let's go ahead now and we'll grab this healing brush tool, and the healing brush tool is going to be good for healing broad areas. So in essence, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you stay away again from lines and creases here, because this brush works similar to the spot healing brush, except for the fact that you create your own sample area by holding down the Option or Alt key on your keyboard. So for instance, I would select an area right in here by holding down Option or Alt, and then I could simply just paint along here and it would automatically create that healing pattern based on wherever it was that I just clicked. So let's go ahead now, hold down the Option key, and I will go ahead and make this stroke right here. And you'll notice here that you didn't see any visual change. And the reason why you didn't see a visual change here is because I actually made somewhat of a mistake when going through this. You need to make sure when you're using these tools that you come up here to the options bar and always make sure that you have sample all layers turned on. This is something I can't stress enough, simply because when you go to do this on a new layer, it won't work. So when you come into here and you start to use these retouching tools, the first thing you need to do is create a new layer. The second thing you need to do, make sure in the options bar you have sample all layers turned on. Now if I come in and use the Option or Alt key to read this area, I can make a brush stroke and I automatically clone out those areas like that. So this is going to be good for healing those large areas of skin tones that need repair. Like for instance, if you wanted to heal this entire little strip right here that has a little discoloration, just click and drag like so, and it'll take into account the reading that you have all around that area. Let's select that area one more time because I didn't actually reset my sampling area, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one more time just by making a stroke, and there you see it fills it up just a little bit better. So always create a sample area right around the area that you're getting ready to fix with these tools, and then use that tool accordingly. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw this one away as well. And now we'll take a look at how to utilize another one of these tools, the patch tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the patch tool from the healing tools here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually just make a selection here on this image. And what we're going to do is then take that selection and we're just going to move it over so that we create this new area here that fills that patched area. So what we're doing is actually taking a reading of all these areas here, as you can see, and we're duplicating it inside that selection that we made. So this is a great way, especially if you're matching skin tones, to take selections from around that area to better match the skin tone itself and also the surface, as far as, you know, exactly what goes into that skin tone. Now, one of the drawbacks of this is that you can't really do this on a separate layer. That's kind of the bad thing about this, because when you try to do this on a separate layer, you will be only selecting transparent pixels, and therefore you'll get an error message saying that you can't move this around. But there is a fix to this, luckily, so I'm just going to go ahead and use Command D on the Mac, Control D on the PC to deselect that area. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of this layer by using Command J on the Mac, Control J on the PC. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use this. I'm going to make a selection right around this little mark on her face, and then I'm going to use the patch tool to select an area to fill with that, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and deselect that. And you see there it did a really good job of just hiding that little area that we wanted to patch out there. And you'll see here, here's before and after, how we just did that. And we did that all non-destructively to our original image simply by duplicating that layer. So if you don't have the ability to create that new blank layer and then sample the layers beneath, all you have to do really is just create a duplicate layer by using Command or Control J, and then you'll be well on your way to making a non-destructive edit to your photograph. So this again is just how to utilize some of the retouching tools here inside of Photoshop to get better results as far as portrait retouching goes.